Imagine sitting down to your favorite meal, crispy bacon, creamy eggs, maybe a handful of walnuts, and someone tells you that food right there on your plate might actually be doing something inside your brain that no pill has ever fully managed to do for Parkinson's disease. That sounds almost too good to be true, right? Well, stay with me, because what researchers are finding is turning a lot of old assumptions upside down. And if you or someone you love is living with Parkinson's, this could be one of the most important things you watch today. Let me ask you something right now. Drop it in the comments below. Have you ever tried changing your diet to help manage Parkinson's symptoms? I'd love to know what you've experienced.
Before we talk about keto, let's make sure we're on the same page about what Parkinson's actually is, because understanding the disease is the key to understanding why diet might matter so much. Parkinson's disease is a condition where a specific part of the brain, a tiny region called the substantia nigra, starts losing its nerve cells. These nerve cells are responsible for producing dopamine, which is the chemical messenger that helps control smooth, coordinated movement. When dopamine levels drop, the signals that tell your muscles how to move become disorganized. That's where the tremors, the stiffness, the slowness of movement, and the balance problems come from. But here's something most people don't realize. Parkinson's isn't just about movement. It also affects sleep, digestion, mood, memory, and even the sense of smell. It's a whole body condition, and it's rooted deeply in how the brain is functioning, or not functioning, at the cellular level. The big question scientists have been wrestling with for years is, why do those brain cells die in the first place? And what can be done to protect the ones that are left? Two of the biggest culprits researchers keep pointing to are something called mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress. Let's talk about both of those, because this is where keto comes in. Pause. Think of your brain cells like tiny factories. They run all day and night, producing energy, sending signals, cleaning up waste. To run those factories, they need fuel. And the main fuel the brain normally uses is glucose, which is basically sugar. Now, here's the problem. In Parkinson's disease, the brain's ability to use glucose efficiently starts to break down. The mitochondria, those are the little power generators inside each cell, they start malfunctioning. They can't convert glucose into energy the way they should. And when the factory can't run properly, the workers can't do their jobs. Cells get stressed, they produce toxic byproducts, and eventually they die. This energy crisis in the brain is now considered one of the core drivers of Parkinson's progression. And this is exactly where the ketogenic diet becomes very interesting, because ketones, which your body produces when you cut carbohydrates way down, are a completely different kind of fuel. And for many brain cells, they may actually be a better fuel. Have you ever heard of ketones before? Let me know in the comments, whether you've tried keto or are totally new to it. There are no wrong answers here.
The ketogenic diet, keto for short, is a way of eating that is very high in fat, moderate in protein, and extremely low in carbohydrates. We're talking about eating things like meat, fish, eggs, cheese, butter, olive oil, avocados, and non-starchy vegetables. And we're talking about cutting way back on bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, sugar, and most fruit. When you eat this way,
your body runs out of its usual glucose fuel relatively quickly, usually within a day or two. At that point, the liver starts breaking down fat and producing molecules called ketone bodies. The main ones are called beta-hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate, and acetone. These ketones then travel through the bloodstream and into the brain, where they can be used as fuel by neurons. Now, this is crucial. The brain doesn't just tolerate ketones. In some situations, it actually prefers them. Ketones bypass some of the damaged metabolic pathways that glucose depends on. They can enter the energy production process at a different point, which means they can still generate power even when the normal machinery is broken. It's like switching from a gasoline engine to an electric motor when the gas engine is failing. And for Parkinson's patients, where that energy machinery is already compromised, this could make a significant difference.
Now, I want to be upfront with you here. The research on keto and Parkinson's is still in its early stages. We don't yet have large, long-term clinical trials proving definitively that a ketogenic diet slows or reverses Parkinson's. What we do have is a growing collection of lab studies, animal studies, and a handful of promising small human trials, and the results are genuinely exciting. One area where researchers have seen consistent benefits is in neuroprotection, basically protecting the nerve cells from dying. In multiple lab studies and animal models of Parkinson's, ketones have been shown to protect neurons from the kind of oxidative damage that's associated with the disease. The brain cells essentially hold up better when they're fueled by ketones instead of glucose under stressful conditions. There's also evidence that ketones reduce inflammation in the brain. Neuroinflammation, chronic low-level inflammation in the nervous system, is now understood to play a major role in Parkinson's progression. A compound called beta-hydroxybutyrate has been shown in studies to block a specific inflammatory pathway in the body, essentially turning down the inflammatory fire. That's a big deal for a disease that's partly driven by that fire.
In terms of human studies, one small pilot trial put 5 Parkinson's patients on a ketogenic diet for 28 days. All 5 showed improvement in their motor symptoms, things like tremors, rigidity, and slowness of movement. The improvements were modest but measurable. For a disease where most treatments just slow the decline rather than reverse it, even modest improvements are worth paying attention to. Another study looked at using medium-chain triglycerides, a type of fat that quickly converts to ketones in the body, as a supplement for Parkinson's patients. Participants showed improvements in cognitive function and quality of life. Now, none of this means keto is a cure, and none of this means you should change your diet without talking to your doctor. But it does mean the science is pointing in a direction that's worth taking seriously.
Here's something that might surprise you. Many researchers now believe that Parkinson's disease may actually begin in the gut, years, sometimes decades before the brain symptoms appear. The evidence suggests that toxic protein clumps called alpha-synuclein can form in the nerve cells of the digestive system and then travel up through the vagus nerve, the long nerve that connects the gut and the brain, eventually reaching the brain and causing damage there. This means what you eat and how it affects your gut health may be more directly connected to Parkinson's than anyone imagined a few years ago. And here's where keto comes into the picture again. A ketogenic diet significantly changes the gut microbiome, the community of bacteria and other microorganisms that live in your digestive tract. Research has shown that keto tends to reduce the populations of bacteria that produce inflammatory compounds, and it may support the growth of bacteria that help protect the gut lining.
One fascinating study found that germ-free mice, meaning mice with no gut bacteria at all, didn't develop Parkinson's symptoms, even when exposed to the triggers that normally cause them. When researchers added gut bacteria from Parkinson's patients into healthy mice, those mice started showing Parkinson's-like symptoms. This tells us the gut microbiome is not a bystander in this disease. It's a player. If you or someone you love has noticed digestive issues alongside Parkinson's symptoms, constipation, bloating, stomach discomfort, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. That gut-brain connection might be more relevant to your experience than you know.
Based on the available research and reports from people who have tried ketogenic or low-carb diets alongside Parkinson's treatment, the improvements that tend to be reported fall into a few main categories. Motor symptoms are often the first thing people notice. Tremors may decrease in frequency or intensity. Stiffness in the muscles can ease up. Some people report that their movements become smoother and more controlled. This isn't guaranteed, and it won't be the same for everyone, but it's been reported consistently enough that it can't be dismissed. Cognitive clarity is another big one. Many Parkinson's patients experience brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and early memory issues. Because ketones are such an efficient fuel for the brain, some people report feeling mentally sharper on a ketogenic diet. They describe having more clarity, better focus, and feeling less mentally fatigued during the day.
Energy levels often improve as well. The crash and spike cycle that comes with a high carbohydrate diet gets replaced with a steadier, more consistent flow of energy from fat and ketones. Many older adults find this particularly helpful because fatigue is such a significant quality of life issue with Parkinson's. Sleep quality has also been noted as improving for some people. Since ketones have a calming effect on neural activity and may reduce nighttime muscle disturbances, some Parkinson's patients report sleeping more soundly and waking more refreshed. And mood can improve too. Ketones support the production of GABA, which is a calming neurotransmitter in the brain, and they may also influence dopamine and serotonin pathways. For people dealing with the depression and anxiety that often accompany Parkinson's, this can be a meaningful benefit.
Now, is keto actually safe for older adults with Parkinson's? This is the question I know many of you are thinking. And it's the right question to ask. Because while the potential benefits are real, so are the risks, especially for older adults who may have other health conditions alongside Parkinson's. Let me walk you through the main concerns honestly, because I want you to have the full picture. The first concern is something called the keto flu. When you first switch to a very low carbohydrate diet, your body goes through an adjustment period that can cause headaches, fatigue, nausea, dizziness, and irritability. This typically lasts 1 to 2 weeks and goes away as the body adapts. For an older adult, especially one who already struggles with fatigue or dizziness, this adjustment period needs to be managed carefully and should be done under medical supervision. Electrolyte imbalances are another concern. A ketogenic diet causes the kidneys to flush out more water and electrolytes, particularly sodium, potassium, and magnesium. If these aren't replaced, it can lead to muscle cramps, heart palpitations, and weakness. Now, this is manageable, but it requires attention. Drinking enough fluids, adding a little salt to your food, and eating potassium-rich vegetables are important steps. For people who take medications, and most Parkinson's patients do, the interaction between diet and medication is a critical consideration. The most important one to know about is that high-protein meals can interfere with how levodopa, the main Parkinson's medication, is absorbed by the body. Too much protein at once can actually reduce the effectiveness of the medication.
This means if you're going keto, the timing and amount of protein you eat needs to be managed in coordination with your medication schedule. This is definitely something to work out with your neurologist.
People with kidney disease, liver disease, pancreatitis, or certain metabolic disorders may not be able to safely follow a ketogenic diet. This is why I'll say it clearly, and more than once. Do not make a significant dietary change like this without talking to your doctor first. That said, for many older adults with Parkinson's who don't have these contraindications and who have proper medical support, a well-formulated ketogenic diet appears to be safe and may offer real benefits. The key words there are well-formulated and proper medical support.
Here's something I want to share with you, because I think it's especially relevant for older adults. You don't necessarily have to go full strict keto to get some of the benefits. There are gentler approaches that may still move the needle while being easier on your body. One option is a modified ketogenic diet where carbohydrates are reduced significantly, but not all the way down to the very low levels of strict keto. This might mean cutting out sugar, bread, pasta, and processed foods, which is enormously beneficial on its own, while still eating some legumes, low-glycemic fruits, and root vegetables in moderation. Another option is to use medium-chain triglyceride oil, often called MCT oil, as a supplement. MCT oil is a type of fat that goes directly to the liver and gets converted to ketones very quickly, even if you're not on a strict ketogenic diet. Adding MCT oil to your meals, starting with a very small amount to avoid stomach upset, can help raise ketone levels without requiring you to dramatically change everything you eat. You can add it to coffee, drizzle it over salads, or blend it into smoothies. Some people also do well with a cyclical approach, eating low carb on most days, but allowing slightly more carbohydrates on 1 or 2 days per week. This can make the diet more sustainable over the long term and reduce some of the social challenges of always needing to eat differently from everyone else at the table. The most important thing is finding an approach that you can sustain over time, that your doctor approves of, and that makes you feel better, not worse.
Let me get really practical now and talk about specific foods, because I know that's what many of you are looking for. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel are among the best foods you can eat for brain health. They are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, which is the primary structural fat in the brain. Research consistently shows that omega-3s reduce neuroinflammation and support the survival of neurons. Aim to eat fatty fish at least 2 to 3 times per week. Eggs are another outstanding food for Parkinson's. They are a rich source of choline, which is used to make acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that's important for memory and muscle control. Eggs also contain lutein, zeaxanthin, and vitamin D, all of which support brain and nervous system health. Avocados deserve a special mention. They are rich in healthy monounsaturated fats, potassium, magnesium, and folate, all nutrients that support brain function and help manage the electrolyte balance that keto can disrupt. They're also one of the most anti-inflammatory foods you can eat. Olive oil, specifically extra virgin olive oil, is a staple of brain protective eating. It contains oleocanthal, a compound that works in the brain similarly to anti-inflammatory medications. It also helps the body clear amyloid plaques and may even help remove the alpha-synuclein proteins that accumulate in Parkinson's. Use it generously as your main cooking oil and as a salad dressing. Leafy green vegetables like spinach, kale, arugula, and Swiss chard are extremely high in antioxidants, folate, and vitamin K.
They protect neurons from oxidative damage and are very low in carbohydrates, making them perfect for a ketogenic approach. Try to eat at least 1 to 2 cups of leafy greens every single day.
Nuts and seeds, particularly walnuts, almonds, flax seeds, and chia seeds, provide healthy fats, protein, vitamin E, and antioxidants. Walnuts, in particular, have been associated with better cognitive function in several studies. A small handful of mixed nuts daily is an easy and delicious addition to any brain-healthy eating plan. Berries, if you're doing a modified keto approach, are the fruit of choice. Blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are relatively low in sugar and extremely high in antioxidant compounds called flavonoids that have been shown to protect brain cells. A small serving of berries a few times per week can be a real asset. Now, what you want to minimize or eliminate: sugar, white bread, refined flour products, processed snack foods, vegetable oils high in omega-6 fatty acids like soybean oil and corn oil, sugary beverages, and ultra-processed convenience foods. These foods drive inflammation, destabilize blood sugar, and provide the brain with a type of fuel it can't use efficiently when it's already under stress.
I mentioned this briefly before, but it's important enough to come back to. If you are taking Levodopa, which is used by the majority of people with Parkinson's, protein timing is something you absolutely need to discuss with your neurologist. Levodopa competes with amino acids, the building blocks of protein, to cross the blood-brain barrier. When you eat a high-protein meal close to the time you take your medication, the amino acids from that protein can crowd out the medication and reduce how much of it actually gets into your brain. This can cause the medication to seem like it's wearing off faster or not working as well. One strategy some neurologists recommend is the protein redistribution approach, consuming lower amounts of protein at breakfast and lunch when medication effectiveness is most important for daytime function, and having the majority of your daily protein at dinner. This allows the medication to work optimally during the day while still meeting your body's protein needs. This doesn't mean eating low protein overall. Adequate protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass, which is critically important for Parkinson's patients. It's about timing it strategically. Work this out with your doctor. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Diet is powerful, but I want to be honest with you. No single intervention works in isolation. The research on Parkinson's is very clear that regular physical activity is one of the most effective tools we have for managing symptoms and possibly slowing progression. Exercise increases a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially like fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps neurons survive, grow new connections, and resist damage. Exercise also helps regulate dopamine signaling, improves motor control, reduces depression and anxiety, and strengthens the muscles that Parkinson's progressively weakens. When combined with a ketogenic or low-carb diet, exercise may have an even greater protective effect. Ketones and exercise both promote mitochondrial health. They both help those little power generators in your cells work better and last longer. Together, they may be more powerful than either one alone. The best forms of exercise for Parkinson's patients include activities that involve rhythm, coordination, and balance. Dancing, particularly types with structured footwork, has shown remarkable benefits in clinical studies. Cycling, swimming, yoga, tai chi, and strength training are all highly recommended. Even a consistent daily walk can make a significant difference. If you're currently exercising alongside your Parkinson's management, I'd love to hear what you're doing in the comments. Your experience could genuinely inspire someone else watching this video. If this video has you thinking seriously about trying a dietary change,
Here's my practical advice. Go to your next doctor's appointment armed with specific questions. Ask your neurologist whether a lower carbohydrate or ketogenic diet would be unsafe given your specific medications and health conditions. Ask about protein timing in relation to your levodopa if you take it. Ask whether your doctor would be willing to monitor your blood markers, things like blood sugar, cholesterol, kidney function, and electrolytes, if you make a dietary change. If possible, ask for a referral to a registered dietitian who has experience working with neurological conditions. Not all dietitians have this background, but those who do can be invaluable in helping you put together a plan that is both brain supportive and safe for your overall health. And please, don't try to do this alone. Parkinson's is a complex disease. The dietary changes that could help are also complex enough that they deserve professional guidance. Having a team on your side, your neurologist, your primary care doctor, a dietitian, and your family, makes a world of difference.
So, let's come back to the question that started this whole conversation. Is keto for Parkinson's a miracle cure or a dangerous fad? The honest answer is, it's neither. It is a scientifically grounded dietary approach with genuine potential benefits that are supported by real, if still early, research. It is not a cure. It will not stop Parkinson's in its tracks or reverse all the damage that's already been done. But for many people, it may significantly improve quality of life, support brain health, reduce inflammation, provide better cellular fuel, and enhance the effectiveness of other treatments. Is it dangerous? For most people, when done correctly and with medical supervision, no. For some people with specific health conditions or medication considerations, yes. There are real risks that need to be managed. That's why the conversation with your doctor isn't optional. It's essential. The real danger would be dismissing this entirely because it sounds too simple. Or, on the other end, throwing yourself into a strict ketogenic diet without guidance and hoping for a miracle. The truth, as it almost always is somewhere in between. It is a real tool. It deserves serious consideration, and it works best as part of a comprehensive, medically supervised approach to Parkinson's management.
What you eat every single day matters. The food on your plate is not just calories. It is information for your cells, fuel for your brain, and a message to your body about what to do next. For someone living with Parkinson's, those messages matter enormously. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you living with Parkinson's, or do you care for someone who is? Have you ever experimented with diet as part of managing this disease? What questions do you have after watching this video? Drop everything in the comments below. I read every single one, and your questions and experiences help shape what we cover next. And if you found this valuable, please share it with someone in your life who might need to see it. Sometimes, the most important thing we can do for the people we love is make sure they have access to information that could genuinely help them. Take care of yourself, stay curious about your health, and I'll see you in the next one.